Okay, today we've got a special Photoshop YouTube tip. This one's for James. James wants to know how we can use this image here, which is called focus, as our background, and then we want to put this person on this particular spot. So we're just basically changing from one person to another. Now this, we've got two images and they've been handheld, so they're not exactly the same, although they have been taken from the same spot. So we need to first of all get this person over into this area so that we can do something to merge them together. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to, out of my image which is called blur, we're just going to select this person from the blur area, making sure I've got plenty of space around them so that I can match it up over here. And then I'm going to just with here go edit, copy, and then over onto this one I'm just going to go edit, paste. Now that means that I've now got a picture on here of that we've just now got to work out exactly how and where we're going to put it. Now if I have a look at this, it lines up pretty well, so we should be able to get this image to fit reasonably nicely. And you can see what I've done is I've just dragging that around. I can actually line it up with some of the other elements that are in there. The other thing that I could do with my layers here is, here's my layers, and I'll just bring them over here for a second so you can see what I'm doing. This is the layer that has the image that I've just brought in on. And if I drop my opacity, I can actually see through it. And it just allows me a little bit more control to make sure that as I'm lining things up, they're lining up quite nicely. Now I'm just going to come in nice and close on this, because what I really want to line up is where he's sitting and where the walls are. So although you can see here it's lining up quite nicely over here, I need to check to see whether or not it's going to line up with the seat more than anything else, because that's what I'm really wanting to align it with. And I can use my arrow spaces or my mouse to just line that chair up, and I'm pretty happy with that chair just there, I think. And if I come over here, I can see that the lines in here are reasonably well too. They're not perfect, but that's okay, because we're going to basically mask this person back in. So I'm just going to bring the opacity back up now. So there's my person and he's in the spot that I want him, and I'm going to add a mask to this layer. When I add this mask to this layer, here's my mask icon down here. All it does is put a white mask on there. So I either need to, if I just Control Z to go backwards, so remove the mask. If I've got the mask there and I hold the Alt key down when I click, it puts a black layer on there. So at the moment I can't see any of this image that is there. I'm now going to get my brush tool, and I'm going to make sure that my foreground paint is white, and I can paint this person out and the other person in. Now we've got a few little issues where we want to make sure that things are working quite nicely. I'm going to come down a little bit closer and I'm going to switch from black to white, and I'm just going to make sure that I go around the edges here of other parts that's going to be, that will change by me having this person in here. And that way I'm keeping as much of the previous background in there as I can. Obviously the previous background was much more in focus, but the person was moving. So I want to try and keep as much as I can, but you can see when I get too close to some things, I need to switch back to my other paint, because I need to make sure that I don't have that vision of the other person in there. So you can see here, if I do it with my black paint, I actually can see where that person is sitting, and I don't want that, so I need to very carefully go around the edge of that and make sure that I've now just got that person sitting there. Now you can see there's a little bit of difference in the colour on the wall here as well. Let's just bring this back a little bit so we can see. So this image now is looking okay, with the fact that if we turn the on and off, we can see that we've changed from one person to another, but it still is working okay. And what I might just do too is where the front of this chair is, whoops, maybe not quite so close in, I want to make sure that I have more detail in the front of that chair as well. So we've now got this person reasonably in there, except for this sort of shadowy look behind here. So what we're going to do now, and I'm just going to make a copy of my background layer, I'm just going to merge that layer down so that I can see nicely that I've got that in there, and if I turn that on and off I can see how I've just moved that person from being in one spot to another spot. What I really need to do now is fix up some of these little areas here so that they're not quite so obvious. There's a couple of ways that we could do this. We could actually clone from this section into here. I actually think though that we probably can just use our healing tool, and with the healing tool we press the Alt key, and I'm just going to come across here and make sure that line is nice and straight there, and it's making a little bit light, but that's alright. Let's get the Alt key from down here. So those lines are now a little bit straighter, and I'm now going to get what we call our burn tool. I'm just going to very, very lightly get rid of this protected tones business. You can see I've got my exposure, it was on 1%, I might go up to 5%. We just want to darken that area in just a little bit so that it blends it in a bit better. Like so. And I would just basically play around with burning that in till it's about right. The other thing that we could look at doing is actually clone some of this area, so that rather than just do the healing tool, if I get my history back up here, where's my history? Whoops. If I go back to my healing brush tool here, I'll just go to merge down. Instead of using the healing brush, we could actually use this clone tool here. And I'll use it a little bit smaller so I've got a little bit more control over it. And with the healing tool we can actually get rid of what we can see there. And I think in this particular case the healing tool has, the cloning tool has probably worked a little better. We might even just fix this little bit above the head here as well, just so it looks nice and straight. So now we have gone from this to this. Very small little change, but it works quite nicely. So there you go, James. Have a go at it yourself, and we'll see you in class soon.